Hi, my name's Lindsay, and welcome to the Top Hat orientation video for creating a matching question. To create a matching question, click on the Create button under the Questions module heading. Select Matching Question, and then click Next. You will be provided with the framework in which to build your matching question. First, you want to come up with an appropriate title for your question. We recommend using a naming convention based on the manner in which you organize your semester, ensuring that each question has a unique title. For instance, Lecture 1, Question 1. In the next field, you can input the question you'd like to ask your students. In these matched pair values here, on one side you will put one category, and in the other side you will put the other. For example, in the left-hand column, I am going to go ahead and list the countries. In the right-hand side, I will go ahead and list the capital city. I can add additional values, ensuring that each country is paired appropriately with its capital city. Also, the option to go ahead and add additional dummy values. These will be values that are not a matched pair and will simply be provided on the right-hand side. In this question example, these would be additional city names. This first prompt here says activate question immediately after creation. In almost all instances, you're going to want to ensure that that box is not selected because you'll likely create these questions in advance and then activate them for your students once you're in the lecture hall. I've gone ahead and clicked on the advanced settings here, and on the right-hand side, you can see the grading options. You can assign grades for each of your questions weighted on correctness and/or participation. By default, these values are set at half a point each, but you can change them to be anything you'd like. They don't have to add up to 1, and they can equal 0. For instance, in this question here, if I were to change these values as so, a student who responded incorrectly would earn 1 point, a student who responded correctly would earn a total of 5 points. Here with the timers, if you enable a timer, this will limit the amount of time your students have to respond to a question. I do recommend bumping that up from 30 seconds up to 60 seconds for the first lecture or so, as your students are familiarizing themselves with the Top Hat platform. An additional option available for you is that you can make a question anonymous if you'd like. Assigning a question to as anonymous is intended for more controversial subject matters when you believe students may not answer truthfully if they know you have access to their responses. For these questions, grading is not an option. You will not be able to link student responses to individual students in any way, shape, or form. Thus, grading is not available, and these questions are completely anonymous. Also available here to assign whether or not the question has a correct answer. If we go ahead and deselect this box right beside question has a correct answer, this will be what we refer to as a polling style question, getting an opinion from your students. For this question specifically though, this is a correct answer question, so I'm going to go ahead and reselect that box. Lastly, you can choose to upload an image to accompany your question if you'd like. Simply click on the Upload button and select an image from your computer. We recommend sticking with the default image layout of regular to ensure the image is appropriately resized to correspond with each student's device. When you're happy with the question you have built, simply select Save, and the question will appear under your Questions module heading within your course dashboard. When the time comes that you want to make the question available for your students, simply click the notebook next to the question title. As you can see, there are 5 different statuses available to choose from. We are currently in the closed status, meaning that only you as the professor have access to this question. The 2 statuses directly above that, homework and review, are primarily used outside of the lecture hall, and we'll return to discuss each of these in a moment. The top 2 statuses, ask and show, are the ones you'll use primarily inside the lecture hall and where we'll begin. When you're ready to ask your students a question, simply click on the Ask status. As you can see, the question becomes active and visible on your screen immediately. You can choose to click on the Magnify button in the bottom right-hand corner to expand the question to full screen. Because I chose to enable the timer, you can see that it is counting down here at the top. I'm going to pause this for a moment so I can clarify a few other features for you. As you can see, the question is visible along with any images you may have included. Along the bottom is the text message prompts for your students responding by SMS text message. This 4-digit randomly generated code is unique to this question, and your students will submit it along with their answer in a text message to the region-specific phone number that appears on your projected screen. There will always be a sample text message available for your students to reference as well. You may notice that there is a space between the code and the student's answer, but not to worry, with or without that space, the student responses will still be accurately received. For students who are responding using a web browser or mobile application, they'll see the question appear on their screen like this. They can select the answer they'd like to submit and simply click Submit once their answer has been chosen. Students will receive confirmation of the answer that they have submitted. Taking us back to the professor's screen, you can see that the number of submissions has changed, and if we follow that blue bar across, that will show us the representation of the percentage of students who have submitted. We can view this as the online percentage, so the percentage of students who are currently online. We also have the option to toggle that and change that over to the enrolled status. This will then show us the percentage of students who have submitted who are enrolled in our course. If you recall, we did set a timer for this question. I did pause it to clarify some things with my students briefly. I can go ahead and press the play button to continue the timer and resume the timer. Alternatively, regardless of whether or not you enabled the timer for your question, it is always an option to disable submissions manually by clicking on that box there. The action of disabling submissions transitions this question from the ask status to the show status, and as you can see, the question is still visible for students to view, but they are no longer able to submit responses. When you're finished with this question, you can simply click the close button to return to your course dashboard. To recap, the typical flow when asking questions of your students in class is ask, then transitioning to the show status when you disable submissions, either automatically if a timer has been enabled or manually by clicking the disable submissions button, and then transitioning to the close status when you're finished with the question. As I mentioned briefly before, there are also two statuses used primarily outside of the lecture hall. The homework status allows you to assign questions to homework, have students respond to them outside of the classroom, and yet still have their responses logged in the gradebook. The review status allows you to make questions available for your students to study. In the review status, students will be able to view the question, see the answer they submitted to the question, and, if applicable, view the correct answer, allowing them to use your Top Hat questions to prepare for quizzes and exams. Accompanying each question are also a number of additional question features as showcased below the question statuses. Duplicate question. If you want to create a question very similar to this one, duplicating the question will allow you to make a copy and then make small changes as necessary. Edit question allows you to make changes to the details of the questions. For instance, fix a spelling error or change the correct answer. Preview question. This feature allows you to view the question without activating it for your students. Show answers allows you to view the reports, the graph and submissions of student responses to this question. Schedule question allows you to schedule access to the question. This is ideal for assigning questions as homework or review and limiting the number of hours or days that students have access to it. Assign to individuals is a feature that allows you to assign questions as homework or review to only select students. This is great for when you have students who have an excused absence, but you will require that they complete the questions the rest of the students did in class that day. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you require further assistance, we can always be reached at support@tophat.com. Happy top hatting!